Hi, everybody. Welcome back. And we now have our speakers who have joined us. And while you all were networking, we lifted a glass, and now we want to lift one to you to celebrate everybody getting back together again. It's wonderful to see everybody. And we're looking forward to doing some more of this in person soon. But until now, cheers to everybody. Okay. So we are now going to start welcoming our speakers, and we have a variety of stories to share. To kick off our stories of unlikely partnerships, I am very honored to introduce Bobby Chasnis, Director of Pure Business Connect. Bobby has been such a huge support of ours, and many of us have benefited by his championing what we do, he and his team. Bobby has been on the team since 2014, has served as director since 2019, and PMBC is the state's B2B matchmaking program of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, for those of you who didn't know. And they also serve as the industry agnostic platform connecting demand and supply, I should say, through matchmaking events, webinars, pitch competitions, and other initiatives. PMBC works to help grow small and medium-sized businesses in our state. The MEDC is a public-private partnership serving as the state's economic development and marketing arm and lead agency for business, community, talent, tourism, and overall economic growth. It's a big job. Bobby and Pure Michigan Business Connect have been truly tireless advocates of ISAIC and their innovative solution to ensure our success in the PPE Alliance was critical. We could not have done it without them. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Bobby. Welcome, Bobby.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here and really, echo all the sentiments that you shared. I think unlikely partnerships is definitely, it's hilarious for me to say now, but like it was just an unlikely kind of time period, but also was kind of serendipitous, right? I mean, we were at a point in our time where, the pandemic was coming, and, we were events. We were all in-person events-based programming, and we had to find a way to flip it, and to be able to offer up support, whether that was financial or otherwise, to small and medium-sized businesses around the state. And so, us, coming to ISAIC and understanding the kind of the industry leaders that you were, and realizing that the need for PPE was so great at that time, we had to kind of move in that direction and be able to provide a grant to support, what we were all doing. So, I'm happy to be here. It's fantastic to be supporting of ISAIC and everything that you are all doing to support those frontline workers throughout the state. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bobby. And also, if you might, I know Tanya on your team has been such a true advocate of ours too. She's always available for a call from many of us, an email from many of us. Could you share what PMBC's sort of perspective is on this industry and its potential, in a more generic sense?
Yeah, sure. So I think, obviously talking about some of the support that we had on the financial side for the grant program, that's fantastic. But what Tanya and the team have been doing, forming, the Fashion Industry Council, and kind of getting some of the big players all involved to really state not only like the state of the industry, but also state what the needs would be and how we as the state could help facilitate in either introductions or financial introductions, or just even provide some background about what the MEDC could do or some of our partners around the state. And so, we're happy to, obviously moving more towards Industry 4.0, we're excited to have kind of advanced manufacturing be in maybe an underserved industry such as fashion, right? I mean, we were heavily in, working in aerospace, automotive, agriculture, healthcare, and all of that. And I think we took time to understand what the fashion industry needs. And we are excited to know that, there's a lot of parallels that go alongside that. Even from aerospace manufacturers and engineers, working hand in hand with some of the production and engineers, in the fashion industry. It's fantastic. And it's something that's such a good fit for our program. Being able to offer up, whether it's webinar series, like you mentioned, pitch competitions, working with Detroit is the New Black Downtown to organize, some other types of events to help out some of those small to medium-sized businesses realize what they needed. And if we could support in any way, we should certainly be able to do that.
Well, I know that I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people on this call. Thank you very much for seeing the vision and understanding what we were advocating for, and for getting behind us and for taking the time to learn our industry. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anything that we can do to continue the support, we're more than happy to do that. So, don't be a stranger. Obviously, when we can get back in person, I'd love to re-engage with all of you and really continue to work on the strong partnerships that we've already formed. Thank
you, Bobby. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, the next speaker we're going to move to is Brenna Lane. And so Brenna is a unique speaker from the standpoint that she was one of the original, visionaries of ISAIC. I mean, she was really the one that tried to get everybody together to start having conversations, and she succeeded. And it's why we have been able to do what we've been doing. And she just happens to also be the co-owner of Detroit Denim Company. Brand manufacturing and specializing in men's and women's jeans, and with her fabulous husband, Eric, who just scooted out the back door before we went live here. Brenna has been making her own clothes since age 9, has turned that passion into a truly, truly unique brand commitment. And we are lucky to have Brenna on our board and lucky to have her in Detroit. Brenna, take it away.
Unmute. Hi, guys. Hi, Jen. Thank you for that introduction. I'm really glad to be here today. And I just want to echo the thanks from Jen, for Bobby, for you and your team. As you know, I wear a couple different hats, and so I'm going to speak with a couple of different hats on today. But as I'm wearing my owner of a small business in Detroit hat, that collaboration to make PPE saved our business. We were going to go out of business. We had to close our store, and we lost 90% of our B2B contracts overnight, and it just all went away. And that collaboration was hugely, not just meaningful that we were like making PPE for our community, but also, it served as a kind of a sturdy foundation during a very unsturdy time. And I just want to thank you so much. It really made the difference for my company and so many others. One of the things we were talking about and what we're going to talk about today and kind of looking back at the pandemic is more of the kind of like lessons learned and silver linings that we can take away from it. Because, we all suffered. There's still a lot of processing to happen about everything that happened last year, but I do have some lessons that I took away and some silver linings, and I wanted to share that with you guys today. The first lesson, and it was pretty immediately clear, that the existing apparel industry has got to change. And when everything kind of came to a shutdown and, these huge, long, complicated supply chains, basically what ended up happening was a lot of Western companies called all the factories in Southeast Asia and said, hey, that $40 billion of stuff we ordered from you, we're good. We don't need it, and we're not going to pay you for it. It was already produced. And so it really kind of brought to the forefront just how broken this industry is. And while it does work for some, it only works for a few. And so the industry is ripe for change. This, it has been for years, but this pandemic really accelerated our understanding of something's got to change, which is why I think ISAIC coming in, kind of opening at this time, it's just great timing. ISAIC launched just in time to kind of serve as that reshoring ethically, that kind of beacon on a hill, if you will, for how to reshore ethically. The second thing that I learned from last year is that this lack of U.S. infrastructure in apparel manufacturing and manufacturing in general isn't just some sad after effect of globalization or NAFTA. It's a national security threat. This is serious. And when we are in the midst of the worst crisis in 100 years and our hospitals can't get the gowns they need or the masks they need because we're dependent on a very fragile global supply chain, that's a security threat. That's upsetting. And so again, ISAIC is, kind of just on time to serve as an advocate for why robust manufacturing ecosystems are so important. And 3, this was a big learning point for me, especially after last summer and all of the work that started happening around George Floyd and all of the racial injustice we saw last summer and kind of all came to a head, was that, I used to kind of think that just bringing jobs from, Bangladesh or China or wherever there's terrible human rights abuses and just bringing them here, that's it, it'll fix it. As long as it's here, it'll be better. And it made me really wake up and realize that unless we're actively doing the work to kind of decolonize our workplaces, the US has its own ghosts. We have our own histories that are very problematic. And unless we're doing that active work, that it's gonna be a lateral move. We're gonna create new, but equally not good systems here. And I was just so moved and proud to be a part of the board, especially at that time when we were really wrestling with how do we kind of take equity and inclusion and not just order it as an add-on on the side, but bake it in to the foundations of ISAIC as an organization. And so those were kind of the lessons I took away. Lessons usually come from challenges, and these were some hard lessons that came from some hard challenges. But I'm glad we learned them. And then there were some silver linings. These are a little bit more upbeat, but my silver linings are, first and foremost, I was able to learn personally kind of what really matters. And I remember very early in the pandemic, my fabulous husband, me crying to him saying, honey, what if we lose everything? And he said, well, then we would lose a lot of things, but that's all we'll lose are things. And those are things, and they don't matter at all. And, he kept just repeating to me that relationships are all we have. Things can go away, things can disappear, but relationships don't, and they can't. And that notion of kind of this re-centralization of what actually is important and those things that you kind of think are important when you're in that day-to-day hamster wheel, that was a really big silver lining for me personally during the pandemic. The second silver lining for me, for us as a company, Detroit Denim hat now, ISAIC board hat off, Detroit Denim owner hat on, was it gave us this time to kind of exhale and step out of that hamster wheel, step out of that day-to-day operating a business and really look at, again, what matters, what doesn't, what are the things we were doing just because that's how we've always done them, and what things can we let go of. And we shut down our company last fall and moved into a new location. And we're going to be relaunching next Wednesday, our 11th birthday as a company, which I'm very proud to say. And we're going to be relaunching as an entirely made to order model. We're very excited about that. We're very proud about it. It's, we've been flirting with that notion for years, but sometimes you got to do stuff to keep the lights on. And my husband and I decided that we're going to really kind of go big or go home here because we knew we didn't want to continue unless it was in a way that was really aligned with our values and with our hearts and how we wanted to live. So that never would have happened without the slowdown time of pandemic. We just would have kept going for a few more years and then been like, we're really tired, we're good. And so I'm really grateful for that. And the third silver lining for me from the pandemic was this realization, and I'm a pretty grumpy misanthrope. I'm bubbly, but I'm grumpy. And the realization for me was that humans are good. Humans are so good. And I didn't always believe that before. And I know there's a lot of news out there that's scary, that's showing people at their worst. That's the news trying to freak us out. People are so good. And we saw it in the collaborations. We saw it in the way people work together. We saw it in how many times I heard the words, what can I do? How can I help? And just time and time again, we saw that throughout the pandemic, and the meaningful work of creating PPE for Michigan area hospitals and frontline workers, that came together in a way that never would have happened had we not had this urgency, this constraint of the pandemic. And no one backed away from that. Everyone stepped right up to it. And the collaboration I saw there was absolutely amazing and really did strengthen relationships that already existed and created beautiful new ones. And I'm just really grateful and humbled to have been able to be a part of that. And so again, Bobby, like, I know I already thanked you, but thank you again, Bobby, because it was really meaningful for us. So yeah, those are my 3 takeaways of silver linings. And just ending on that, like, we're good.
Well, thank you, Brenna, for being a deep part of our ecosystem. I know everybody feels like you're someone that they can turn to for support, a shoulder to cry on, someone to celebrate with. So thank you for being such an important part of not just the ISAIC board, but the Detroit ecosystem.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to Deirdre Roberson, and Deirdre is a new friend of ours, and I have to say she has quickly become a part of our family, and so I want you all to get to know Deirdre. She was one of our students, one of our few students that we accepted during the pandemic, and she is a chemist, she's creative, she's a woman of color and founder of EUMELANIN, a clothing and jewelry line that merges her scientific and creative side. Born and raised in Detroit, Deirdre witnessed firsthand how skin tones and shades were used to separate us. And EUMELANIN is a brand designed to change that behavior and to honor who we are and what we're made of. Her brand celebrates self-love holistically and combats negativity associated with Black and brown people because of the color of their skin. And Deirdre, I'm so excited to introduce you to everybody, Deirdre Roberson.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Jen, for having me. So where do I even begin, right? We all experienced this pandemic. I don't think none of us didn't come in contact with some of the other negative things that happened during this pandemic. And it was a trying time for all of us, especially as small business owners. So I just want to start to say, like, even how Jen introduced me, when I usually pitch my company, I'm like, hey, I'm a chemist, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a creative. If it wasn't for ISAIC, now I changed that to I'm a designer, right? I started sewing when I was 12, but still, you know, it was just dabbling here and there. And as I got serious about my company, as I wanted to grow my company, as I wanted to grow my brand, I really wanted to get serious about the technical aspects. And actually, COVID, the pandemic opened up a lane for that. When I got laid off, I decided to go full time into my business. I had been putting that off and I was going to do it in August, but things presented themselves. So I went full time and it allowed me to actually take the class at ISAIC, right? So I learned so much. And so what I thought I was going to get out of it, I feel like I got that tenfold, right? So not only understanding the technical skills of it and how the different machinery, the production and the different skills we learned in that aspect, but also what does responsible manufacturing even look like, right? When we think about sustainability so much, we don't think about the people that we should be sustaining in these industries. And I think ISAIC teaches that holistically and challenges us to, as we grow as business owners, as we grow in the career aspects, how we should speak up and give ourselves the voice in this industry as well. It was so important for me to take this class. And so as I was taking this class, and it all just kind of came together, as I was taking this class, my business was actually growing tenfold. But that's how I know how committed I was with it. It was 200 hours. It's 5 days a week. It was like you had to be dedicated. I think I probably missed like one class at that. And I was very serious about getting my technical ability, getting proficient in the machines, trying to see technology. I feel like just being in that space opened up a world for me, for my creativity, for my brand, for my technical skills that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else, especially not in Detroit, right? Without going to school and getting a degree and paying a bunch of money. So it was very pivotal for where my company is going now and me as a person. So now when I speak it, I say I'm a designer, from the things of, sewing the garments, but also being able to speak with factories, able to, upping your technical skills, but also tech packs, right? That's something we don't talk about when we're saying we're designer. Can you read a tech pack? Can you communicate with factories across the world? Do you even know the metrics, how you're communicating with factories, right? Understanding like, we may be on the English system here, they work in metric system. How do you talk across factories? What I did not notice, but I suspected is how much my background in chemistry actually merged in this space as well. when learning about textiles and the different kind of printing styles and sublimation, all these things, it was just like, I wish someone would have told me this earlier, right? But it was just amazing to step into that space and, learn new ideas and grow my company. And it just benefited so much. So it actually prepared me. So right now I've been designing our new fall line that's coming out this fall. So I was able to approve what seams need to look like, talk about the technicalities of all the garments, like all this stuff. I'm like, there's so much confidence in myself now as a designer. But it also, I think that growth was necessary for where I want to go with my company. And I could not feel this confident, and I couldn't be in this space if it wasn't for the training at ISAIC. I mean, the teachers were excellent. I believe I had Katie and Olivia, and even they even kind of opened up to us, and they were like, certain things I learned when I started working here. I've been sewing for years, and some of the techniques that you have to know about when you're doing industrial sewing is different when you're at home. Since then, I've purchased about 2 machines at my home, which they helped out with, kind of navigating which machines will be the best. And just as the company grow, Brenna even talked about what is your why, right? I think that's something that I've always had in my business, right? So it was me getting down the technical abilities to complement my why, right? Because the why can only get you so far. Are you calling yourself designer and not having technical skills? Those two things don't even go. So I'm just very fortunate for all the things that kind of came together and just, how they're culminating now. So we got offered, someone actually reached out to me. I just did a MasterCard commercial. That was a national commercial that was happening with me and other business owners. So it just really gave my company the next step into where we're going and what we need to be understanding. When I set out to design EUMELANIN, it was because I was passionate about an issue. I had a why, and I had to get this out into the world. And fashion was my vehicle in which I do that. Now I can say that not only fashion is my vehicle, but it's also a technical ability that I possess to get this message out into the world. So ISAIC has been very instrumental on where we are now, where we're going next. And so I implore people, if you haven't checked out the class, if you're thinking about becoming a designer or going forward with a brand, to really, improve your skills and become technical as well. And the work that ISAIC is doing is phenomenal. I'm so glad to have you all here in Detroit. I can't wait to see other things that's rolling out. I'll be signing up. Always looking to see what's next and coming out of ISAIC. But you guys have been very important in the growth of me as a business owner and a designer. And so I just really appreciate all the opportunities you were able to see, especially during a time like what we were dealing with. I really used that time to upgrade my whole business and my life and where it was going next. So shout out to ISAIC for that.
Well, we are so delighted that you took the step to join us, and you're one of our first alumni. So now you're part of the family forevermore. And as the alumni grows, I think you're probably going to share this story with a lot of students that we'll have. And we think that the alumni group that's growing, you all are going to get to know each other, and who knows how you all are going to be working together. So I'm so glad you took that step, Deirdre, and thank you so much for speaking tonight.
For sure. You're not getting rid of me.
Good. Okay. So speaking of sort of, taking advantage of, maybe things that need to operate differently, we're now going to move to Aki Choklat from CCS. He is the chair of the Fashion Accessory Design Program, which is College for Creative Studies. For those of you who may not be in Detroit, that's what CCS stands for. And I'm really happy to say, too, that the programs are going to be expanding there, and they would not be expanding without the leadership of Aki. Aki is internationally acclaimed fashion and footwear designer, author, educator, and I just have to tell you, the most amazing human being. We are so fortunate to have Aki in Detroit. He is Royal College of Art graduate. Aki is an author of footwear design, which has become the most important design book for the shoe industry, and recently published Menswear Trends. He is a frequent visiting lecturer at various leading international fashion schools. And when I say international, I mean really international. I mean, Aki is known all over the world. And he is an important voice in our community. So we are going to now turn to Aki to have him share a little innovation that occurred at CCS under his leadership over the past year. So Aki, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. You're gonna make me cry. There's like such sweet words you just mentioned. I do have to say in the beginning though that I do not wear jeans. I don't wear denim. I do have one pair that I do wear, and they are Brenna's. So just so you know, and I cherish them, and I wear them in special occasions. So yes, there's a lot to cover, obviously, but I'm trying to keep it concise. And I wanted to mention a couple little silver linings as well, what I learned from this era of all of a sudden the world changing, and we had to deliver good quality education to our students in the middle of their final collections. A year ago, they were sent home. One of the big things that we did was that we bought our graduates sewing machines through Amazon before they sold out, because they sold out within a week. We were pretty, quick thinking. And we sent the sewing machines to students' homes, and the results were actually amazing. And of course, the emotional toll is something that we, talk a lot at CCS. And I kind of hope that there was also a bigger talk and discussion about that. As the word human has been mentioned many times here. We're all human. And I know that as an educator and teacher, we had to always be the tough one. But also, we were also suffering because of our situations and also worrying about the students. So one of the things that, so one silver lining is this sort of learning to cope. And just like coming up with new solutions and ideas. And it was kind of like being some kind of a trivia show, like, oh, now this, in parentheses, pandemic. What are you going to do now? So it was kind of like that every other month, like what's next? And I'm so happy that, it's getting a little better. We were talking about also about the movements in the summer, and representation was really, really big word that came into our lingo in the fashion industry. And we had our first big fashion show a couple of nights ago, and I had the students figure it all out themselves, model casting and everything else. And it was so great that the students had all body types, all heights, all races in the show, kind of representing what students really, what their world is, because they cast their friends. So, okay, if Bella Hadid comes, I'm not going to say no to her, but it was very nice to see the representation of the current mind of students. And I have a feeling that it changed during last. Another thing that we started to do is, I always wondered why there, why we are. Well, I know why we are looked as kind of an elitist world in the world of fashion. And I started sort of soul searching a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe I'm partly to blame as well, because maybe we are living in this champagne drinking bubble of reading the Vogue, which is so not true. Okay, I'm having a martini tonight, but I wish my life was like that. So I thought if we connect with the younger generations and kind of show how amazing our industry is. And it's not only about superficiality, it's also about making people feel better about themselves, about creating beautiful things and useful things. So we decided to connect with Detroit high schools. And we started kind of a weekly fashion class with them. And it has completely changed my life. Working with the young minds in Detroit high schools, exchanging ideas, completely putting me into a different world that I'm usually in. And I'm so excited to share what our industry is all about. And there is such talent in Detroit. And I'm first and foremost, I just really want to expose the positive world of our industry.
So Aki, what you just talked about is one of the things that inspires us so much. Over the summer, for those of you who may not know, we had graduates or students, now graduates, I should say, from Aki's program join us to, make PPE at ISAIC. And some of those people have become, full-time employees of ours. Some are returning. And, your students mixed in with, our really, really, really excitingly diverse crowd here was so fun. And you're right that youthful energy, that different kind of energy, the Detroit energy that we see, I'm so thrilled to know that you're reaching out to youth, because we need them to see the opportunities that are here for them that they normally wouldn't know about. So it's such a great thing that you're doing, Aki. And I look forward so much to continuing to work together with CCS as you roll out more of your fashion program.
Thank you.
So thank you for everybody. We're a little bit over, so we wanted to let you know that we can move to the sessions. There's 2 rooms there that you can join. I'm hoping that the speakers can join too. We're going to keep it open until about 5:20, so you can hang out, talk some more. So I think the speakers are going to head over there right now. You head over there, and we should be able to see everybody at the same time and have a little bit of fun. So we'll see you there. Thanks, everybody. Oh, one more thing. Very important thing. Shame on me. So we rely on support, and many of you have said, how can we support ISAIC? And I will tell you, it is to continue collaborating just as we are and finding new ways to collaborate, and become a booster. Become a booster of ours. You can go to our website, and there is a booster section where you can just become a booster. And there's all sorts of benefits to become a booster, but it's really not a membership. It's just saying we want to boost and support what you're doing. So if any of you have benefited by either the work that we've done or indirectly by the work that we've done, if you're excited about the work we're going to be doing, please come become a booster and encourage those who know about us to all become boosters. Okay, I did that part, and let's head to the lounge.